we are shifting into a denser consciousness. We are becoming more conscious, and that's why you are having these experiences. Hi, this is Teresa Yanaros at Divine Frequency, and today we are talking about the global wake up and the possibility that the military-industrial complex is running interference. First things first, a big hello to my new subscribers, and thank you so much to those who pledge on Patreon. Y'all rock. So today we're going to dive right in, #MermaidLife. We need to talk about what the global wake up even means. What I have been realizing recently, especially in the last few months, is that there has been a surge in dream states, astral travel, and ET contact experiences. So I wanted to talk about that today because people are flooding my inbox with questions about what this means. Now, I believe that the veil is lifting. Now, what is the veil? It's this thing that it's intangible, but it exists, and it keeps us from being able to know who we really are. I talk about it as the veil of forgetting. So when you as a soul come down into this planet, you have agreed to forget the soul nature of your reality. So it occurs, it's there for a reason. It's there because we have to learn lessons. And if you get the answers to the test before you take the test, you're not going to be learning lessons. So you come down into this planet, you forget that you are an infinite being having a finite experience. But guess what, my friends? Along the way, you figure it out. You learn. And that's why you're watching this video, obviously, because those of you who follow Divine Frequency, you know about your infinite nature. And if you don't, guess what? You're infinite. And we're going to talk about that today. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what the ether is. So we talk about astral travel. You hear this word. We're going to talk about what astral means, what ether means. All of these, it's the same thing. So we're going to talk about that right now. The ether or the astral plane, this is the spiritual realm that you can access. So you are a soul inhabiting a body. And when you have these experiences outside of your body, whether it be in dream state or when you're awake, sometimes you'll have a near-death experience that, oh, I'm knocking lights over. I get so passionate, I knock over my light setup. Okay, anyway. Okay, back to the game. So when you discover your infinite nature, this can happen in a lot of different ways. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. I'm receiving, this is crazy. I'm receiving emails as we speak about people's dreams. This is crazy, y'all. People are waking up. Okay, so first we need to talk about what the astral plane actually is. So I want to break this down in an easy to understand way. You have your physical experience. This is the tangible physical world that you live in. Now we have different brainwave states. This can be measured and calculated with an EEG and electroencephalogram, and they basically put these little sticky things on your head and they can see the electromagnetic pulses and they can tell when you're in certain brainwave states. This means if you've drank a lot of coffee and you're in that gamma brainwave state, you're functioning at a really, really high conscious point. If you're just in your cruising state, that's a different one. So there are different states of consciousness. Now, when you go into dream state, what can happen is this can open you up to the spiritual realms. This is when you can become untethered from your physical body, because guess what? You are not your body. You are a soul and you're inhabiting a body, and things can become a little bit more liquid or untethered when you go into these more, what's the word I'm looking for? The deeper states that get you closer to your soul reality. So you become a little bit less tangibly connected to the physical reality when you are quieting down your heart rate and you're moving into these sleeping, dreaming states. So a lot of times what happens is that people come in contact with the concept of the ether, the astral realms, when they're going into their sleep state. So we're going to talk about that. So what is ether? Ether is the non-physical space around you. Some people call this the field of infinite potentiality, the source field, that which connects us all. We are all right now finite manifestations of the infinite, but we have an infinite nature inherent inherent in us. That's our soul. That's our soul connection to source. And we are tethered together as one. So when you tap into that non-local state, you can actually travel very quickly across time, across space. Everything becomes a little bit weird. Now, I figure most of you watching this video, you already know all of this. So we're going to go ahead and take a step deeper, and we're going to start talking about some of the examples to suggest that what I'm describing now is actually real. I can tell you about my own personal experience when I realized that I was able to come out of my body. Now, I accidentally traveled out of my body. I was standing next to myself when I was sleeping one day, and I looked down and there was my body, and I'm in my soul body, and I could float, and there was no pain, and everything was light around me. Everything had an inherent quality of light, and I could float through doors and everything. It was really cool. I could zoom in on objects and see the filaments of fabric and everything. It was really cool. So that was me waking up to the reality of my infinite nature. Now, I always knew it because I was raised spiritual, but when you have that experience, it unlocks it in a new way. Now, I believe that because the earth herself is moving through into a highly energetic space of the cosmos, we are shifting as well. We are becoming more accessible to these higher states of consciousness. And that is why people are having increased dreams, increased astral travel, increased extraterrestrial contact. We are shifting into a denser consciousness. We are becoming more conscious, and that's why you are having these experiences. So when I first realized my infinite nature, I decided I wanted to learn how to control it. So I started learning about the different brainwave states that we were talking about before, so that I knew when I was shifting into states that allowed me to access these astral realms more readily. So the first time that I astral traveled on purpose, I had taught myself about these different brainwave states. I put myself into a deep theta, and I was able to basically fall up out of my body. So you're coming out of your body, you're aware of your physical body, you can feel your physical body, but your soul is untethered from that physical body, or it's probably tethered in some kind of capacity, obviously, but you're outside of your physical body. And I was able to travel to another space and time. I don't know, it was a very interesting experience. I'm not going to go deeply into that now, but I essentially went into another realm where everything was a little bit different, but it was a lot very similar to my life now. So I don't know if I traveled to a different timeline or a different dimension. There are lots of different words that you can use to describe that, but I was able to experience this other life. And so that was kind of the first time that happened to me. And then moving forward, I received extraterrestrial contact. Now I'm hopping way, way forward now. There's a lot of stuff that goes in between, but what I'm trying to get across to you now is that the contact has leveled up. People are experiencing intense activations. People are coming into contact with their infinite nature. This veil of forgetting where it's like, hey, you got to come down and learn these lessons. We're shifting into this higher state of consciousness where we're going, no, we get it. We get our infinite nature. And I'm going to give you an example of why and how this is being manipulated and controlled, because the powers that be do not want you to know about your infinite nature, and they certainly don't want you astral traveling out of your body and doing healing work across the globe, which is what a lot of people are doing right now. It's really, really hilarious and intense to watch the community going out of body at night. It's either during sleep or on purpose, and they're traveling around. I'm seeing a lot of people traveling to classrooms where they're teaching and learning about how to shift the consciousness of the planet. I'm hearing about a lot of people actually doing healing work on the astral plane during sleep. And then sometimes people don't exactly know what's happening, but they're getting these images flashed, and then they're posting it on social media, and the other people in their friend group were having the same exact night where they were like, yeah, we were all in a classroom together, or yes, we were doing global healing. All of these things are coming out now. Now, something that I want to talk about is, what is the military-industrial complex doing to prevent the global shift in consciousness from occurring? Now, first of all, I'm going to tell you they can't prevent this from happening, but I'll tell you what they're trying to do. And I'm not sure if it's the military-industrial complex, but I have a pretty strong hunch that it probably is. It could be another negative ET faction, whatever, but for all intents and purposes, we're going to group that into one category that's called the bad guys. The bad guys are trying to keep you from raising your consciousness, and it's not going to work. So I'll tell you a story. I was actually visited by blue-gray ETs last year in 2017, and they took me out of my room, took me onto their ship. They showed me how to telepathically communicate. Now, I believe that these were a positive faction showing me how to telepathically communicate. It opened up my crown chakra to where I started receiving downloads of information to help humanity raise its consciousness. Now, that has been coming out in threads, and I've been talking about that experience and what came after it on stages across America to help the expansion of consciousness. Now, what's very interesting about this experience is that the next day when I was cooking breakfast, I had a trickle of blood go down my leg, and I realized that there's actually an implant in the back of my right knee after that experience. Now, when I carried that back and I looked at what happened, I realized a couple of interesting things. At 2 o'clock in the morning when I woke up after the experience, it was like I went shooting up out of my bed. My significant other at the time, he had just woken up. He'd opened his eyes. 3 seconds later, I shoot up out of bed, and I was like, whoa, this was crazy. And I go into the kitchen to make coffee, and then I come back after realizing it's 2:17 in the morning. Now, him and I had a shared dream that night. I tell him about the blue grays. We thought it was weird. We went back to sleep, woke up in the morning, and we had felt like we were drugged. Now, what I think is interesting is that we were wide awake. Circadian rhythms were off 2 o'clock in the morning. Then we go to sleep. Then we feel the grogginess. That's important because what I think happened, and after talking to a lot of people about this, I think what happened was there was a reabduction. It's called rehab is the term for it. But the military industrial complex, or the bad guys, they will come in after these ET contact experiences or this like heightened consciousness astral travel that some of you are experiencing, and they will reabduct you, or they'll take you and they will tag you, or they will mind wipe you. And they don't want you to remember these things. They don't want you to have the power associated to them. They're basically tinkering with the human body so that we can't raise our consciousness. Now, what I think is interesting about the implant in my leg is that I was told that it could be some kind of tracker so that when I reach higher states of expanded consciousness, they are able to tell when that's occurring. Therefore, they can infiltrate and see what's happening, or they can basically keep tabs on me. Very interesting. But I wanted to share a story with you guys actually from a woman who contacted me today about some of the experiences that she's been having, and I wanted to talk about this concept of interference. So she told me that she's experiencing extreme lucid dreaming recently. She's pretty sure she's astral traveling to other realms and dimensions, and recently she felt, this is a recent night, she had felt like she had been blank slated. So she had felt like the memories that she had been removed from her. And when she woke up in the morning, she couldn't remember anything, almost like that there was a specific blank in her mind. And there was clear goop against her scalp, and she was deathly ill for 24 hours. And she's asking me, what's going on? Do you have any insights for me? And this is in perfect alignment with what I'm telling you guys about, is that I do believe that there's a group out there that want to prevent this shift in consciousness from occurring. Now, I'm telling you again, that's not going to happen. But if you're waking up, you have these weird things going on, like, you're deathly ill for 24 hours and you have some weird goop against your head and you feel like you can't remember what happened the night before, chances are you're a light worker and you're doing some amazing expansion of consciousness on the etheric plane, and you're doing this for the collective consciousness, and the powers that be don't want you to do that. So they're going to come in and they're going to run interference. But just know that you are a powerful being, and none of these factions, none of this stuff can take you away from your infinite nature. It's kind of funny to see the bad guys trying to come in and run interference. It's not going to work. Your soul power is so much stronger than any kind of interference that anyone can run. So just spend time in meditation, focus on surrounding yourself in that golden light, pull in that Christ consciousness. It's time to get activated. It's time to get organized. We're doing it together, okay? And I will also tell another story. Last year, whenever I had a prominent interview coming online for me, 2 days before that interview, when I was driving in my car, all the electricity goes out in my car when I'm going through an intersection. Boop, gone, just coasting along for 6 or 7 seconds. And I feel this boom hit me in the throat, and energy hit me in the throat, and there were flu symptoms immediately. I felt like I had been hit with the flu, After about 6 or 7 seconds, the electricity turns back on in my car. I turn around and go home. It was the first time I had experienced something like a psychic attack, whatever you want to call that. But there are weapons, psionic weapons out there that the powers that be hold, and probably some of the Alliance too, but there are weapons out there that can affect your body physically with sicknesses and things like that. This is proven. Go look it up, psionic weaponry. And the reality is this is out there. This stuff is out there. But when you wake up, what's so important for you to know about, and this is the point of this video, when you wake up to your infinite nature, which we are doing now on a global scale, it's freaking the bad guys out. They can't do anything anymore. They can try to tag you. They can try to make you sick. But guess what? You are more powerful than that. We are more powerful than that together. And it's happening, y'all. Global wake up. So get together. Tell your stories. Be louder, be loud, be proud. We're going to continue talking about this. And if you have questions about this, please let me know. If you have stories to share, join our Facebook group at Divine Frequency and come chat about this. People are telling their stories, they're sharing. It's amazing to see the stories coalescing where people are having the same dreams about each other in dream space, because it's happening. This stuff is happening on an astral realm. So if you're having these experiences, you think it's just a dream. A lot of times when those dreams feel real, they're happening on an etheric plane. There's a lot more going on here than just what's happening in your physical existence. It's time to pay attention to those signs. It's time to get organized. It's time to remember your divine nature, and don't let anybody take that away from you or confuse you about it. You are a multi-dimensional, infinite being having a physical experience, and we're here doing this together. We're co-creating this world that we want to live in. You guys are amazing. When the military-industrial complex is running interference, what does that tell us? It tells us we are right over the target. All around us are pieces of the gigantic cosmic puzzle. Let's attune to its frequency. I'm your host, Teresa Yanaros, and this is Divine Frequency. Talk to you guys soon.